Masks required tonight. If you're in a county with 4 or more active cases, you're expected to wear one. But who will enforce this new rule? We'll tell you who not to call.
Plus, making the rounds, including a stop here in Montana, one man's mission to highlight Americans living through this pandemic.
And later, they play a vital role in our country, how the VA is now looking to increase awareness about female veterans.
From Montana's news leader, this is the MTN 530 News.
Well, almost 40 states are seeing an increase in COVID cases tonight, including Montana. Thanks for making MTN a part of your night. I'm Tim McGonigal.
And I'm Hallie Schwinnard. With the state's new mask mandate, we have seen some confusion, some questions from you, our viewers. We'll get some of those questions answered for you, from concealed carry permit holders to who to call to report non-mask wearers.
But first, we did have 2 more deaths in the state. Lewis and Clark County has seen its first COVID-19 related death. It occurred in a person over the age of 65. It's one of 2 deaths reported in the Treasure State since yesterday. The other was in Billings at the Canyon Creek Memory Care Facility. Overall, the state reported 135 additional cases over a 24-hour period. It's the first time the state has seen 3 consecutive days with 100 or more cases. As we log more deaths in the state, Governor Steve Bullock says, quote, "It's on all of us to work together to stop COVID-19's devastating path and maintain the health of our communities." The governor says this is another tragedy felt throughout the state.
Today, Cascade County officials gathered for a joint press conference. It was in response to Governor Bullock's statewide mask mandate. Great Falls Police Department, Cascade County Sheriff's Office, and Cascade County Attorney announced they will support the City-County Health Department's enforcement of the mandate throughout the county. However, they say they will support the mandate but are not responsible for enforcing that citizens comply with it. Law enforcement say this is not considered emergency, so please do not call 911 to report it. You're asked to call the Cascade County Health Department with issues. There's been chatter on social media about the implications of wearing a mask and concealed weapon permit holders. To clear up this confusion, the Cascade County Sheriff says you can still wear a mask and lawfully carry with your permit.
As most shy away from traveling right now, one man is doing quite the opposite. A traveling documentarian made a stop in Missoula this week. It's part of his new project depicting American life amid the pandemic. Scott Henderson began his journey from Indiana a little over 2 weeks ago. He wanted to take his passion for media and community and combine it with his curiosity for COVID-19 and create a real-time documentary that explores American life amid a pandemic.
And I'm doing it because I want to learn how do leaders overcome great disruptions. And leaders from business, people who are running nonprofits, artists, individuals who have, who are just ensconced in their day-to-day life, and really understand the psyche of what it takes to come through major disruptions.
And Henderson's travels and interviews will make for a 6-part documentary.
More now on the fall's plans for Great Falls Public Schools. They proposed 12-element plan that would change with the phasing system the state has in place. They will be limiting the number of people who can attend student events, but will be taking steps to live stream those events. They will be encouraging students and teachers to wear masks and in specific settings require them. They will offer remote learning if parent chooses to go that route. They will be looking at schedule changes to accommodate limiting student interaction and striving for a 3 to 6 foot distancing in classrooms. They will also be marking hallways for one-way traffic flow. Great Falls Superintendent Tom Moore says they will be making changes for social distancing.
We're going to strive for a 3 to 6 foot distance between students in classrooms. Some of our classrooms are tighter than others, and rescheduling some classes into larger spaces will be happening. We've also vacated a lot of the furniture from some of our classrooms, and they're going to look a little barren and stark in some cases so that we have more room for seats and desks to be spread apart.
The Board of Trustees will meet again on August 10th to go over the plan and make any necessary changes. In the meantime, teachers, students, and parents are invited to review the plan and email any questions or comments to the superintendent directly.
The Blackfeet Nation has received another over $2 million in funding to help with housing for their tribe and COVID-19 relief. It's all a part of the Paycheck Protection Program, a loan that helps businesses keep their workforce employed. They tell us they're looking into housing for the homeless on the reservation. Officials tell us they're trying to come up with solutions to help with the demand for housing.
Currently do not have a facility to house homeless persons. We do not have a shelter or an overnight stay camp. So we're relying on people's own personal resources, their own family connections, their friends, and just reaching out to those individuals, trying to get them a place to stay night to night. Those are things that the council takes into close consideration, and they are working every day to find a facility for these individuals who are homeless and may become infected with the coronavirus.
And a reminder, if you plan on traveling this weekend, all access to Glacier National Park from the east entrances remains closed.
To unemployment numbers now, an additional 1.3 million workers filed claims last week. Those are the latest numbers from the Labor Department today. Jobless claims have been declining but are still at historic highs. At least 17 million people across the country are receiving unemployment insurance right now. As for Montana's latest figures, we saw initial claims jump from the week before, now at 2,700, with continued claims down from previous week, but still at more than 39,000. Switching gears now, another hot, dry day across the area. Let's go to meteorologist Grant Garland now. First look at the forecast. Hey, Grant.
Hey, Hallie, good evening and good evening, everybody. We have been looking at a very dry, hot day as temperatures soared up to the upper 80s for most of us. 89 degrees in the Electric City, a little bit cooler, just slightly, 88 degrees out towards Helena. And as we track towards Jordan, 94 degrees, so very, very warm. Still waiting to get the exact numbers from Havre, Lewistown, and Glasgow. Currently, though, we are seeing temperatures around 86 degrees in the Electric City, 89 in Havre, 90 in Glasgow, and 85 in Lewistown. We aren't looking at much of a problem for our winds, so 12 mile per hour winds in Cut Bank, nothing too shabby there. Over the last 3 hours, we have been looking at mostly clear to sunny skies all throughout. Heads up, a fire warning is in effect for those south of Helena, including Boulder. That will be in effect from 12 p.m. tomorrow, from noon to 8 p.m. Tonight, we're looking at 58 degrees, mostly clear skies with winds gusting possibly up to 25 miles an hour. Now, we are looking at a cooler day, though, tomorrow, but by how much? Well, we're going to talk about all that and more in a few minutes, but for now, back to you.
All right, thanks, Grant. Democratic Governor Steve Bullock has shown himself to be a prodigious fundraiser in his challenge of Republican U.S. Senator Steve Daines. But Daines is no slouch either when it comes to raising campaign cash. And in Montana's U.S. House race, Democrat Kathleen Williams continues to hold the fundraising lead over Republican Matt Rosendale. Daines reported this week that he raised $5 million in the past 3 months, and that pushes his overall re-election campaign total to almost $13 million. He had $7.1 million left to spend as of July 1st. Bullock raised $7.7 million during the same period and had $7.4 million left to spend at the start of this month. In the U.S. House race, Williams has raised $2.4 million so far and had about $1.6 million in the bank 2 weeks ago. Republican Rosendale's campaign has racked up $1.9 million in fundraising so far and had $1.2 million left to spend on July 1st. Recent polling has shown both races are expected to be close. In Roosevelt County, residents want change as they continue to see lives lost on the railroad tracks. One particular crossing is again in the spotlight after a Sydney farmer was killed attempting to cross. MTN Investigates Keely Van Mittendorp joins us now with more. Keely?
That's right. Culbertson community members are reeling after yet another death at a railroad crossing in May. This spot has now seen 3 deaths in 9 months and has no crossing arms. Overall, the spot has witnessed 4 deaths in the last 4 decades. Community members say those tragedies could have been prevented if there were crossing arms or lights.
After you have a fatality, that should maybe automatically initiate something like that. Definitely after 3, hopefully now after 4.
In our MTN Investigates report, we talk with state, county, and railroad officials about the area that's been the site of numerous deaths and injuries. That's all coming up tonight at 10. Back to you.
Oftentimes people will say something to my husband like, "Thank you for your service." And my husband's like, "Well, make sure you thank her too."
Still ahead, making sure women veterans are recognized and honored for their service to our country. Stay with us.
From Montana's news leader, you're watching the MTN 530 News.
Well, there are around 2 million living women veterans in America.
But according to the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs, those women don't always get the same recognition as their male counterparts.
MTN's John Riley met with some of Montana's female veterans who are helping change that.
On Wednesday, the likeness of Montana women were captured in black and white photographs for the I Am Not Invisible campaign. The campaign aims to increase awareness and dialogue about America's women veterans, who say their service can sometimes be overlooked.
Oftentimes people will say something to my husband like, "Thank you for your service." And my husband's like, "Well, make sure you thank her too."
Jessica Evans served in the Army as a Seaburn officer. She trained and led soldiers responsible for defending the country against the threat of chemical weapons and weapons of mass destruction. There are more than 8,500 women veterans living in Big Sky Country just like Evans, with around 3,700 using VA medical services.
That's why it's even more important to make sure that here in the facility, here in our C box, when a woman veteran comes in, because it's always been such a male environment, that they see themselves, they see that female poster, they'll see the I Am Not Invisible poster.
Jean Russell is the primary photographer for the Secretary of Veterans Affairs and has been traveling across the country photographing and collecting stories of women veterans. Russell said he's consistently inspired by the women and their stories.
You know, my big sister is my military hero. She served 37 and a half years in the United States Navy. To me, every single person that I meet is a version of my big sister. And I'm honoring every single person that I meet while I'm honoring my big sister.
Tamara Gross served her country in Southeast Asia, recovering POW and KIA remains of American soldiers, bringing them home. Gross hopes that more people will begin to recognize the service and commitment to country of women veterans.
There's this idea that just because you're a female, you didn't do anything, and that is not true. I don't think people understand it when you take an oath, no matter what branch, you're honoring and serving that oath.
Reporting from Fort Harrison, John Riley, MTN News.
Be sure to visit us online at KRTV.com for more stories of female veterans in Montana, and give a shout out to any women veterans you know on our social media.
More now on coronavirus in Montana. It's prompted many camps to cancel in-person events this summer, but that hasn't stopped some from still serving children. Camp Francis is a bereavement camp for kids aged 6 to 12 who have lost someone significant to them. They had to cancel their in-person camp back in June, but they're keeping kids connected and providing resources for those who are grieving through care packages. The packages include a banana, bells, bubbles, a bracelet, and a hand-stitched bird to go along with their 2020 theme, Wings of Hope.
Camp Francis is not just a place that meets in the mountains during the month of June, but it's a place that lives in our hearts. And this year, that certainly rang true more than anything else. So it was a good way for everyone to feel connected, to be reminded of those lessons and those tools that we have.
Campers also received a blank puzzle piece in their care package. They can decorate those and send them back to be part of a group art project. Camp Francis sent out around 45 packages.
Mental health resources will now be just a phone call away. Today, the FCC assigned the numbers 988 as the national 3-digit phone number for the Suicide Prevention and Mental Health Hotline. It will be up and running within the next 2 years. 988 calls will be directed to the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline. The Lifeline number on your screen still works.
Well, temperatures tonight falling down to around 57 degrees in Lewistown. A little bit warmer up towards Havre at 59. Don't go away. Have a look at your full forecast coming up right after this break.
Storm Tracker weather starts now with Grant Garland.
Welcome back, everyone. I hope that you have had a great Thursday. We are one day closer to Friday, and I know we can all make it. Now, today's high did get up to around 89 degrees. The average is around 84, so not too terribly hot, but for me anyways, it is. Anything that gets close to 90, I'm like, no. Well, the record was set back in 1919 when it was 102 degrees. Very, very warm that year. And let's take a look at the Little Belts off in the distance. Looks great outside, and those clear skies are all thanks to a high pressure pressure that's really influenced our entire area. Now 86 right now in Great Falls, 88 in Helena, 85 in Lewistown, 89 in Havre, and 90 out towards Glasgow. With our winds, we aren't seeing any problems. Looking at an 8-mile-per-hour wind in Lewistown. But how dry are we? Okay, when we put together our temperature as well as our dew point and everything, we're looking at still very dry conditions. 18% in Helena, 20% in Great Falls, 19% in Havre, and 16% in Jordan. Very, very dry day. And as we take a look at radar, we are looking at sunny skies. This right here, don't worry about it. That is not rain. That could be birds that have been flying close to the radar, and it's picking up in the beam. As we head throughout the next week, we're going to be looking at, first off, tomorrow, a cold front is going to be moving in. It's going to help bring back some humidity. And I say cold front because it's, or I put that in parentheses because we're looking at the lower 80s. But if only we could go back to that time, that would be fantastic. That's what we're going to see this weekend. By next week, warming back up to around 90 degrees around Wednesday. So let's go ahead and walk through why we're seeing what we're seeing. By around 11 p.m., we're going to be looking at the low pressure making its way off towards Saskatchewan. We're going to see our cold front become stronger as it starts to realign itself. It will then start to make its way down towards the Electric City right around 1 p.m. We're going to be looking at clouds building in, so expect a partly sunny day tomorrow. That will also allow for the humidity to be brought back to the Treasure State. Now, this I think is a little bit exaggerating on terms of how much rain we could be looking at. I think we're going to be looking at the best chance of 20% for anything. And by the time we get to around Saturday morning, we see cloud cover really right where that cold front is. Back behind it, we're not looking at much. We're expecting mostly sunny day on Saturday throughout the day, and temperatures are going to be in the lower 80s, though, thankfully. What can we expect in terms of our winds gusting tomorrow? We could be looking at 25-mile-per-hour wind gusts, 10 to 20, though, right around 12 p.m. tomorrow, 5 to 10 in Helena as well as Lewistown. Now, and so when we put all this together for tomorrow, our fire variable forecast, we are looking at being the driest right around 5 o'clock tomorrow. That's we're going to be looking at 27% humidity, temperatures around 83, and our winds gusting only at around 11 miles an hour. You can always stay weather aware by following me on social media at Meteorologist Grant Garland on Facebook and downloading that free KRTV app. It is free and ever present. We're looking at temperatures tonight, dropping down to 58 in Great Falls, 57 in Lewistown, 58 in Hayes, and 59 in Malta. As we head throughout the day, tomorrow temperatures will get to around 85 degrees with maybe an isolated chance for a storm. By Saturday, 80 degrees, Sunday, 81. We are going to be starting to warm back, though, as we head into next work week. Partly sunny skies on Monday, and then sunny skies on Tuesday with temperatures around 88. Tim?
Thanks, Grant. And still to come, thinking outside the box to bring athletes together for an important camp. Stay with us.
From Montana's news leader, you're watching the MTN 530 News.
Well, even though the Montana Coaches Association clinic was canceled, the Frontier Conference is still moving forward with a free clinic of their own.
Tom Wiley shows us what the event will look like and why it's so important.
For 3 years, the Hoops for a Cause Skills Camp brought multiple Frontier Conference teams together to offer a 2-day clinic for young athletes. But with COVID-19 affecting athletics across the board, an in-person event wasn't feasible, so organizers had to think outside the box.
I had done a virtual clinic, a couple months ago, and it was really good. And I just thought, well, let's use the Frontier coaches if they're willing. And 12 for 12, they said yes. We got such good coaches and players. Everybody knows that. But we have great people.
Frontier Conference coaches are offering a free virtual clinic July 29th and 30th. Each year, they pick a cause or family to support, and they're continuing that tradition despite the virtual setting. This year, they're raising money for 5-year-old Finley Grace Foster and her parents, Pat and Katie Whitmore.
He just reached out to me and said, hey, I got this thing. We do a Hoops for a Cause, and we, and I've been following your daughter from the get-go. He goes, if there's anything, we can do, and he mentioned bringing it up for this, and I was like, that touches you.
In the past, he's not ever had all coaches and staff commit, and he said he mentioned Finley's name, and everyone was absolutely on board.
It would take all day to describe the medical journey Finley has been through. Suffice to say, she and her parents have experienced more trauma than any family should have to go through, and recently suffered a setback, requiring yet another hospital stay.
Knowing that Finley had just been back in the hospital again with some seizures and things like that, it was the right time, and I just know it's a need for them, and if we can help in any way, we just want to do that. So,
but as of earlier this week, Finley is back home, and the support from friends, family, and even complete strangers continues even 5 years later.
It leaves us. It's a very overwhelming feeling. Leaves us speechless to know we've been doing this for five plus years now, and we still have that much love and support. And I just feel like saying thank you is never enough.
Though Hoops for a Cause will look different, the mission remains the same.
Look up at Tom and say bye.
Bye.
Tom Wiley, MTN News.
Hoops for a Cause has set up a GoFundMe account to raise money for the Foster family. If you'd like to donate, we've shared that link on our website, krtv.com. We'll have a final look at the forecast next. Stay with us.
Temperatures tonight falling down in the Electric City to the upper 50s, around 58 degrees. As we head throughout the day, tomorrow starting us off around 64 with mostly cloudy skies. And then we're going to be looking at temperatures warming up to around 85 for us. Altogether, though, we are looking at a cooling trend as we head through the weekend. But then temperatures are warming back up to 88 on Tuesday.
Still hot tomorrow. Make sure the AC is working.
Just open the windows, you'll be fine.
Just open the windows and, yeah, there you go. All right, that's all the time we have. We'll see you back here tonight at 10.